New analysis shows spending by campaigns and political committees in Maine's Senate race has reached more than $37 million, including more than $1 million just last week.
Wow.
Spending has been accelerated by a hot Democratic primary between leading contenders Governor Janet Mills and combat veteran turned oyster farmer Graham Plattner. Both are hoping to unseat Republican Susan Collins, who is looking to return to Capitol Hill for her sixth term, even though I think like 4 terms ago she might have said she was supposed to be only 1 or 2 terms. I don't know.
Yeah.
Janet Mills joins us now. Governor, thanks for coming back on the show. How is the campaign going?
It's going well. I'm very optimistic. And here's the thing. I think a lot of that money has gone towards pumping up Susan Collins's profile, because their favorabilities were very low, especially last summer and fall. They've been up on TV since September, making her, trying to make her favorables higher, talking about things she's done for Maine, et cetera.
Wait a second. How long has she served?
30 years, Joe.
So she served 30 years and they need an ad campaign to get her favorables
absolutely.
up?
And listen to this. When she was interviewed, when she announced she was running for her 6th term, they asked her, well, do you think your vote on Brett Kavanaugh was the right thing? And she said, oh, yes, that was the correct vote. I went, whoa, ad number 1, I think. I mean, it was not the correct vote. We now know, since her last election, we have the Dobbs decision. And because of that vote, 1/3 of all American women lack reproductive health care, can't get life-saving health care even after a miscarriage.
That's right.
Well, I mean, and Brett Kavanaugh was also the one that said that people could be stopped based on their race, based on their accent, based on where they work.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and look at these TSA lines. We're talking about the security risk.
You think Brett Kavanaugh has to stay in line? I just don't know.
I don't think any of these Republicans that are voting are having to stay in 3-hour lines. I'm just curious, though. What do you say to Susan Collins this morning when voters in Maine are trying to get across the country to work and they're having to stay in TSA lines for 3 or 4 hours because she and the Republicans won't pass a bill?
I'm sure she's concerned.
She's very concerned.
She's very concerned.
Always
concerned. 5 levels of concern. Always concerned, but never courageous. And that's the problem here. We've got to take back the
Now, that's
Senate.
a bumper sticker.
Yeah, right there.
Always concerned, never courageous.
I mean, you kind of nailed it.
She voted for science denier Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She voted for Linda McMahon, who thinks that AI is a steak sauce. She voted for Kristi Noem. It's not. No.
Okay.
And so, the Republicans controlling the Senate and the House and the White House is a bad formula. And we've got to change who's in the Congress. That means taking on Susan Collins, a very, I think, vulnerable person in her reelection campaign. I'm running because I can take her out. I can run I can work toe-to-toe, campaign toe-to-toe against her on what she's done for Maine, what I've done for Maine, delivering progress for Maine people. I've won 2 statewide elections, a 7-way primary first time out, and a 4-way general, and I've won with increasing margins. And so I've also stood up to Donald Trump, which nobody else in this campaign has done. So I'm ready to do it again in the United States Senate.
So, Governor, we're talking about Senator Collins. Before you get to that race, you've got to get through the primary.
Yes.
Graham Plattner. Part of his case is you're the governor of Maine. Prices are too high. Things aren't going as well as he thinks they should be going in Maine, and that falls on you. How do you answer that criticism?
I answer that I've done a lot at the state level to increase health care access, affordable health care, affordable child care, housing, climate action. I've done all these things at the state level. Now it's time to go to the Senate and fix things at the national level. When it comes to tariffs and affordability, clearly a crisis is at hand. And the gas prices that you've been talking about, they affect Maine greatly.
What are they in Maine right now?
Pardon me?
What are gas prices in Maine?
$3.80, $3.90.
Yeah. I
just paid an oil bill. One of my furnace in my house was like $750. It was like almost $5 a gallon. And, it's unsustainable. Maine has one of the highest dependencies on oil for home heat of any state in the country.
So, Governor, in the Democratic Party, there's a lot of debate right now about generational change, wanting a fresh face. And you have pledged that if you were to win, you would serve just 1 term. So what's your argument then to some residents of your state who say, well, why am I electing someone who only could serve 1 term and give up someone who's accumulated 30 years of seniority in the Senate, or choose your Democratic opponent who could theoretically serve 4 decades?
A couple of things. First of all, Susan Collins has been there 30 years. She has seniority, yes, but she hasn't shown the courage to stand up to this administration. I say that seniority without a backbone is nothing but tenure, and it's not a successful formula for achieving anything. I say that on the generational gap, generational issue, we have a good bench in Maine. I've helped mentor and recruit and train younger candidates all my career, and I'm proud of that. We have young people running the House and running the Senate in Maine, the Maine legislature. I'm serving for one term because I feel committed to getting there and getting the job done, focusing solely on the job at hand, getting progress for Maine people, saving our democracy. I believe that the Constitution is something more than a suggestion box, that it does mean due process, that it does mean equal protection, and that the First Amendment does mean something in this country. We've got to stand up for it now, or else we're going to lose it.
Governor, there is a new poll out from the Emerson College polling survey that shows, in that primary race, shows your opponent, Plattner, ahead of you by 27 points. I mean, that's quite a big gap. I saw the ad that you put out with a whole group of women referring to things that Plattner has said in the past about women. My son, who lives in Rockland, Maine, I mentioned that. I sent it to him, and he said, yes, but I just want somebody younger.
Yeah.
And his friends are saying this. I've been up whether he and his friends are going to Plattner rallies. He's not particularly interested in politics, but it is that generational thing. How do you, a 27-point gap at this stage in the primary is not a great position for you to be in, is it?
Well, and the polls 6 years ago, the polls showed Sarah Gideon beating Susan Collins until the negatives came out. The negatives on this guy are much more damaging. And that's why I'm trying to get people to look at the whole thing, the whole picture. Look, be an informed voter, not just a flash in the pan kind of thing. Look at what he has said. And having no record to back up what he's saying about having changed his views, he hasn't done anything to show that he's a changed person. And if he has changed, what's he going to be tomorrow? If he's a different person today than he was yesterday. These statements about women being responsible for their own sexual abuse, for for sleeping with the wrong guy, victim blaming is not acceptable by anybody at any age in this day and age. And other things he has said about white rural Mainers are all racist and stupid, quote unquote, that's not acceptable. This is Maine. We are a rural state, an older state, and we are a rural state. And look, I don't have any tattoos. I don't have anything to apologize for in that respect. I've run and won 2 statewide elections. My life's been an open book. It remains an open book, and I can beat Susan Collins. I think his liabilities make him much more vulnerable to the press of the Republican National Committee money. They put $42 million behind a TV buy already for this fall. They will tear him apart. The things he has said cannot be unsaid. The things he has not done to correct the record or make amends or apologize on a lot of levels for a lot of things are going to make him very much more vulnerable than our candidate 6 years ago.
Well, you're saying that you're running against him, and so you would say that. But let me say, I hear Republicans say that too. Republicans don't want to run against you. Exactly. They want to run against a guy that said all of these things. And what Keddy's saying is true. He's exciting a lot of people on the ground. But Republicans are also excited about the possibility of running against him.
Tom Tillis said it publicly. Probably shouldn't have politically, but he said it publicly. He said, we want Graham Plattner to be the nominee of the party in Maine because Susan Collins can't wait to run against him. That's a Republican saying that.
Yeah. You know something that John Lemire cannot say, that he doesn't have any tattoos.
Oh,
okay. In fact, Willie can tell you, we went out, and went to the beach with him once. He's got life-size tattoos. I don't understand why, of Paul Anka and Johnny Mathis singing together.
That was a crazy night.
Well, I mean, me and my buddies, we went out.
Okay.
And,
they were in Bangkok and things happened.
Democratic governor of Maine.
Hats were cheap.
I don't remember.
Democratic governor of Maine and a candidate for U.S. Senate. Janet Mills, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Paul Anka and Johnny Mathis.
All right, boys.
Joe?
Yeah. Joe,
please
talk about your tattoo.
I told my children.
Coming up.
I told my children, I love you kids, but if you get one of those, don't come off.
They don't come off.
All right.
They don't come off. I'm sort of a hardliner.
You don't have a totem coat.
I don't know.
You don't have a totem coat. You don't have an SS tattoo.
Yeah, no.
I
don't have
All right.